Welcome to Madison City Channel's Know Your Candidates interviews, co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Dane County. I'm your interviewer, Louise Robbins, and I would like to introduce Tim Kiefer, running for the Dane County Board of Supervisors, seat 25. As we begin, I'd like you to give an opening statement outlining the educational, vocational, and civic experience that qualifies you for this office, and tell us why you're running for the county board.
Thank you. Again, my name is Tim Kiefer, and I currently represent District 25 on the Dane County Board, which includes the entire village of Waunakee, as well as part of the town of Westport. County Board is a part-time job. My full-time job is being the owner and the attorney at Kiefer Law Office, and I practice primarily criminal defense, drunk driving defense, and family law. So I'm a small business owner. I'm also a homeowner in the village of Waunakee, and I have served on the board since 2012, so for the past 8 years. And while on the board, some of the issues that I've worked on and that I hope to continue working on if I'm reelected to the board, one would include transportation, which is a major issue for people living in Waunakee because we do depend on county highways to get back and forth to work and get to where we need to go. I have opposed making Main Street in Waunakee 4 lanes, which is something the state DOT really wanted to have happen, but due to opposition from local leaders, including myself, that plan was stopped and Main Street in Waunakee remained 2 lanes. I am in favor of the county's plan to increase the capacity by upgrading Highway M, which is an alternative east-west route that right now has way too much traffic on it, particularly during rush hour, and the county is working on upgrading that. I've worked on cleaning up the lakes, removing the algae from the lakes, the algae manure runoff that causes the algae in the lakes, and also worked on doing upgrades to Schumacher Farm Park, which is in Waunakee right across from the culvert. So that's some of the things I've worked on County Board and hope to continue working on if I'm reelected on April 7th. And by the way, I do ask for your vote for people who live in Waunakee, Westport.
What do you think is the most important issue facing Dane County today, and how would you address it?
Well, in the Waunakee Westport area, which is what I represent, the real big issue is population growth, and along with that, traffic growth. There is a lot of population increase, a lot of housing being built in Waunakee and Westport, and that has an effect, particularly as the state government is concerned, the county government is concerned, as well as the state government, with transportation. And as we have more housing, the question is, how do we handle the traffic that comes along with that? And I am in favor of the North Mendota Parkway, which is sometimes been called the North Mendota or the North Beltline, but we call it the North Mendota Parkway, which is a plan to build a east-west route across the north side of Lake Mendota. That's more of a long-term project that we'd be doing in cooperation with the state government. Something that's more immediate are the improvements to Highway M that I referenced earlier, that I think that's important, something that the county can do on its own. We spent a lot of time on County Board talking about snow plowing and how to do that better, how to improve the quality of county roads. I know that we recently did a resurfacing of a lot of Century Avenue, Highway Q, and I want to keep working on those transportation issues as our population continues to grow.
What do you think about the spending priorities outlined in Dane County's 2020 budget? Is there any area to which you could add, to which you wish you could add, or from which you would subtract funding?
Well, unfortunately, the state government has taken away a lot of our control with regards to county spending. We have what are called levy limits, or revenue caps that are imposed by the state government, which we on the county government have no control over. So at least as far as the operating revenue that the county has, that is essentially determined in advance for us by the state government. In terms of priorities, again, I do go back to transportation, cleaning up the lakes. Those are things that I think are high priorities and should be high priorities. Making sure that people can get where they want to go. And then also with the lakes, that costs money as well. The issue of preventing the manure runoff into the lakes, which then causes the algae blooms and makes the lakes unpleasant during the summer months when people want to use the lakes because there's so much algae in the lakes. That's something that we want to work on. And another issue that's come up really just recently is the issue of flooding. And we have done a lot of work on the county level on addressing the question of flooding. Of course, we had those incredibly heavy rains in August of 2018 where there was flooding damage throughout Dane County, and the county is really focusing on ways to catch that runoff so it's not flooding the streets and flooding people's cars. So that's a big issue as well.
What can Dane County do to address having one of the worst rates of black home ownership in the country?
Yeah, the issue of disparities is something that's been an issue, well, not just since I've been on the board since 2012, since before that as well. On a related issue, not relating to home ownership specifically, but related to the issue of disparities, I worked at the district attorney's office from 2007 to 2011. This was the Dane County District Attorney's Office, and the issue of disparities is a huge issue in the criminal justice system, and something that we deal with every day as well in my current job, because I currently work as a defense attorney. And that goes throughout all of not just criminal justice issues, but relating to home ownership, as you alluded to. And it certainly is a problem. And we on the county board have been working on what's the best way to come at this problem and the best way to have equity, because clearly the numbers, you can look at any of the numbers and they're really disgraceful, frankly, how big the disparities are, and that's something that we are going to have to work on. Unfortunately, we in the county have fairly limited tools in terms of home ownership per se, but I think the question of affordable housing overall is a bigger and bigger issue in this county, where people who are lower income, people really who are middle income as well, are being priced out of a lot of communities, including Wanakee, and that's something that I'm definitely concerned about.
Dane County has taken several steps to reduce the incidence of future flooding. How would you evaluate these efforts? What more should be done?
Yeah, I'll tell you, this is something that's personal for me. I came very, very close to being caught in the flood in August of 2018. I actually stayed at work late that night because the weather report was saying that the rain was going to be ending. That turned out to be exactly the wrong thing to do. And I was driving back to Wanakee, got as far as Middleton, and I was actually at the corner of Allen Boulevard and University Avenue, where the Imperial Garden Chinese restaurant is, which thankfully is at the top of a big hill. And thank God I decided to stop at the parking lot there, before I attempted to go down that hill, because people who did go down that hill, where it's more at lake level, they got their cars flooded, and I was actually trapped at that parking lot for a couple hours. So this is something that directly affected me. And I am happy with the efforts that we've made. We've made targeted purchases of some low-lying land that can be used as flood impoundment areas, floodwater impoundment areas. That's been one part of it. We've certainly carefully looked at the lake levels issue. We've looked at the issue, and we're working on the issue of clearing the channel basically that goes south from the lakes that ultimately goes into the Mississippi River watershed, to make sure that flow is better, because that had backed up in the summer of 2018 floods. So we're coming at it from multiple different angles.
What should be Dane County's priority in addressing issues around criminal justice briefly?
Boy, to try to answer that in 2 minutes is going to be challenging. Like I said, I've been working in the Dane County criminal justice system in one role or another since 2007. Like I said earlier, I started at the Dane County DA's office in 2007. I was a prosecutor there from 2007 to 2011, and then from 2011 to the current time I've been working as a defense attorney. So I see this every day, and I don't think the general public is necessarily aware just how severe the racial disparities are in this community, in this county, because it's really something that's pretty shocking. And I'd say I compare it to a river. It's in the sense of there are many different sources of disparities that arise at different points, some of which go back all the way to childhood, where there's differences in educational resources and such. And it flows into this, I guess you analogize it like to a river, and by the time someone's in the criminal justice system, there's this effect of multiple different things that have gone on up to then. And if I had more time, I'd talk more about it, but I would say it's a major priority for me, as well as a major priority for the county board, because it's just unacceptable, the current status quo.
How could you and other members of the Board of Supervisors improve residents' access to information about the county budget, county services, and upcoming issues and decisions? Again, very briefly.
Sure. Something we've worked on a lot. We have partnered with a website called Polco as a way of getting some input. We've tried having hearings outside of downtown Madison, which I think is really important. We've had some hearings up in the Wanakee area, for example. I really like the idea of taking public hearings into the community, getting out of downtown Madison, going to Wanakee and other locations so that people can have a say where they live, and I find that that makes a real difference.
What would you like to say to the viewing audience as we complete this interview? And again, very quickly.
Sure. If you live in Wanakee or Westport in District 25, I do ask for your vote. I've served on the county board for the last 8 years. I'd like to get another 2-year term. I've enjoyed serving you on the board, and I would like to continue, and I do ask for your vote.
I want to thank Tim Kiefer for speaking with us and the viewing audience for taking time to know your candidates. Please vote in the April 7th election and in every election. On behalf of Madison City Channel and the League of Women Voters of Dane County, I thank you for joining us.